Hello, everyone, and welcome to our show today, My Spiritual GPS. This is your host, Vivian S. de Guzman, the #1 money magnet activator and human MRI. And today, I am so excited to announce our special guest, Baljit Rayat. So Baljit is an Akashic Records consultant and teacher. She is an intuitive soul purpose mentor, sacred geometry soul artist, and a conscious DJ. Yoo-hoo! So how's that? She's committed to raising the vibration of humanity. And Baljit has worked with thousands of women and men worldwide to uplevel their lives by uncovering the truths of who they really are to the core. Woohoo! Are you ready for this? She creates profound results in their businesses and in their relationships. And she believes everything in this world is energy. Yes, that is my tribe, people. Energy. And getting to the root of desire causes a powerful ripple that spans all areas of your life. So welcome, Baljit. Thank you so much. This is so much fun having you around.
I know, I'm so excited. Thank you for having me.
Yes. So tell me a little bit about yourself. I know you have so many hats, right? DJ,
Yeah.
soul, blueprint activator. You do all kinds of things. So go ahead and share with the audience a little bit of who you are.
Yeah, so I activate innovators, inventors, and visionaries to their highest potential. And how I do that is I use the Akashic Records, and I've created this modality called the Soul Blueprint Activator, and it's from a method that I created called the Star Activation Method, and it's based on sacred geometry, and it helps one connect to their purpose and their mission and how to express their divine gifts and talents. I'm also a conscious DJ, so when people listen to my intentional DJ sets, they're able to just get some insight and stay focused on their mission. So, yeah.
Perfect. So how did you get into this type of work that you do? Like what initiated that? And yeah, tell us a little bit of how you bridge that, because you have a lot of hats. You do wear a lot of hats.
Yeah. Well, yes, everything is energy. And one of the biggest things that I did not understand was that, everything is energy. And back in 2003, I just started working at an architect firm. So I've been in the architectural industry for 7 years. I'm a certified architectural technologist. While working at the firm, I developed a severe panic disorder and was suffering from depression and was also semi-suicidal. And it didn't really make sense because I had this glorious life, the Sex and the City life, living in Toronto, Ontario. I just didn't understand, what was going on with me. And I felt very lost. I felt like I didn't have a mission. And I also felt like I was doing what everyone else was telling me what to do. I was also raised in a very, very strict East Indian upbringing as well. So there was all these pressures of like getting married and into, in the Indian culture, and then being a certain way, like becoming an architect. And all these pressures just led to me having more and more panic attacks. So one day I also was taking antidepressants. And one day, it was like around 2005, I went to go see my doctor at the time. And she said, you're probably going to have to take antidepressants for the rest of your life. When she said that, I knew right then and there, I was like, no, I'm not, and I didn't even say anything to her. I was just kind of shocked, and I got up and I just left. And inside of me, I was just like, no, like something really needs to shift. Like I can't handle these panic attacks. And then one day, I pretty much like a few days after that meeting, I sat outside my balcony in Toronto in my apartment, and I wrote. It was like my first conscious letter to God. And I said, "Dear God, like, tell me what to do. Do you want me to stay alive or do you want me to leave the planet? Like, show me the way." And the very next day, that's when I really started to listen to my intuition. I mean, we all have intuition, but it was the first time I actually like listened to that voice. And I heard energy medicine, and I was like, huh. So then I looked up on the internet what energy medicine was, and I found a homeopathic doctor. And within 4 months of taking homeopathic remedies and working consistently with this homeopathic doctor, I just came out of this dark tunnel. What I didn't realize was I wasn't connecting with my emotions. I was really disconnected from my emotions, from my feeling, that inner GPS uh, that was, that navigates that truth. And I just kept repressing it and pressing it. So that's why I developed the panic disorder. So the panic disorder left. And then next thing I knew, I got introduced into the Akashic Records. And probably within a half a year, I moved across Canada, found another job at another architect firm, but then became a part-time healer. So I was teaching the Akashic Records, doing readings, also teaching Reiki. I became a Reiki master and became very immersed into the energy realm. So I had two different lives. So by
Yeah.
2009, I decided to go full time as, intuitive mentor, where I could combine all the tools
Mhm.
to support someone in their mission.
Fascinating. And I know those signs like that anxiety was just a sign, right? A panic
Yeah.
attack is just a sign. And it's interesting because I Googled, like, what is this people pleaser thing, right? Because I think we hear it a lot. And there were a bunch of lists and signs that came out. So is it okay I share with
Yeah,
others?
I
And
love
obviously,
it.
you can validate if this is something you've even felt or you've seen, right? In our community of healers, we notice a lot of these people pleasing tendencies, almost
Mhm.
like we're certified to be one, right?
Yeah,
So, so we
totally.
pretend to agree with everyone. Okay, so if you're a people pleaser, these are telltale signs.
Mhm.
You have a low opinion of yourself, like you think everybody else is better than you, like who are you to even show up and serve others, right? You feel responsible for how other people feel. So did you even feel that, like what would your parents think and feel if you actually change your career, change your mind, or even feel differently than they do, right? Do you apologize often? So these are telltale signs of a people pleaser. You feel burdened by the things you have to do. How many to-do lists do we have, right? And you can't say no. Wow. You can't say no to people. Or you feel uncomfortable if someone's angry at you, or you need some form of a praise to feel good. Are these clear
Yeah,
signs of a people pleaser?
those are correct signs of a people pleaser. You're being on.
Okay, okay, yeah. So when you Google them, you'll find all of them. But the thing is, it's good to know the symptoms and the signs, but then
Yeah,
what do we do about them, right? So
yeah,
can you share with us a little bit about boundaries? So I know I talk a lot about energetic boundaries, but then I want to know from your end, like what were those boundaries that you had to put for yourself in order to actually be healthier, to feel
yeah,
better?
yeah. Well, in addition to what you found on Google, one of the main things that I've noticed was that I was always energetically drained.
Wow.
And and it was funny because since I started learning the Akashic Records, I would have people at my work at the architect firm ask for readings. I used to give readings in the washroom. So that's how much of a people pleaser I was. I felt
Yeah.
obligated to do so. Because I was like,
Oh.
I have this gift, I might as well share it.
Yes.
There's this weird energy of entitlement. Um,
Mm.
so how that ties into, creating healthy boundaries is there's a difference between having a barrier
Uh-huh.
versus having a sacred boundary. A barrier is kind of like a wall. It's like
Right.
a guard, right? Where you
Mhm.
can't receive,
Mm.
you're not willing to look at the different opportunities. And I feel like we have to be very mindful of what a barrier is versus what a boundary is. A
Yes.
boundary, if you can imagine, is like a 360 bubble where you could see all your opportunities, but upon your free will, you get to choose who and what you want to engage with. That
Mm.
feels in alignment. And
Yes.
so creating healthy boundaries, really what it means is connecting back to your truth. It's like, what's my truth? How does that feel like? Is it a solid yes, or is it a solid no? And if it's a
Mm.
solid no, how can I honor that where it doesn't need to be defensive? It's like, hey, I would love to go out. Thank you so much for the offer, but I feel like I need to stay inside tonight. Like, just simple as that. And learning how to communicate that. So a boundary is such a, you know, people think sometimes it's such an invasive like guard, but no, it's just you honoring your truth.
Mm. Okay, so can you share with us what is an unhealthy boundary? So, for most of us, right, that are living in this world, we were conditioned and programmed by either parents, culture, tradition, right, even religion, how to act a certain way and what is acceptable in society. So, what is unhealthy for them, for us, versus healthy? You've mentioned what healthy is. It's
Yeah.
connecting with your own truth. But then, if we have been programmed by so many people and so many systems and institutions, how do we really know when that truth really comes out? Like, when does it come out? When can we bring it out?
Yeah. So how do we know we have unhealthy boundaries, and then
Yeah.
how can we, yeah.
Yeah.
So how do you know you have unhealthy boundaries is that you feel energetically drained, like you just feel exhausted anytime you're engaging with someone or even your clients. um, you will always feel like you have to say yes to things instead of saying no. You feel this sense of like obligation. uh, it ties into being a certified people pleaser, where you feel like there's this need to always please everyone. And there's like a payoff when you're people pleasing, whether it's like you've always wanted to be loved and accepted. And if you believe that the only way to receive love and acceptance is through um, always giving, like people pleasing, without allowing that reciprocation to happen, you'll start to feel energetically drained. So it kind of falls into the rescuer, victim, persecutor triangle. So I would actually Google that as well, because that also ties in. And you might even gain or lose weight. So even your body, Vivian, I know you work with a lot of people with like physical stuff as well, and how that relates to energy. I always check in with people's body, like, have they gained weight? And I know for myself, when I'm not aligned to my truth and
Mhm.
I'm leaking a lot of energy, I'm not creating healthy boundaries for myself, I actually end up gaining weight because my body's trying to compensate.
Mm.
By protecting itself, it wants to
Right.
create an extra barrier. For someone else, they could lose a lot of weight where they just want to be invisible. They don't
Wow.
see.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it can also
It
show up.
could go both ways, in other words.
Yeah. So how you know is like you just get irritated. You kind of just like get to the point of like, it really will take a point where it's like, you know what?
Mm.
I need to shift something. And I know I'm not honoring my truth. So
Yeah.
that first step is just acknowledgement. That's one of the biggest steps, but it's also understanding the dynamic of how you're showing up. We also need to take personal responsibility of how we're showing up in life. We can't always be a victim and be like, it's always about other people doing this to us. We
Right.
need to show up and be like, okay, well, how am I showing up here? And that's why I
Mm.
got in that certified people pleaser. If I'm showing up always as a people pleaser, of course people are going to come forward and be like, great, she's going to give me free candy, I'll take that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. For every giver, there's a receiver, right? Yep.
Yeah. So it's really taking personal responsibility of like how you're showing up in life
Mm-hmm.
and being able to shift that. And it does take understanding energy. It does take understanding like patterns and dynamics. So yes, who's going to be your best friend?
Yeah, exactly. And it's interesting because as we keep on growing and expanding, and I've
Yeah.
shared with my audience that our soul will only be happy if we're always growing and expanding. Because we all want truth, freedom, love, joy, right? All of these beautiful things, all these positive things. And when I notice the anger, right? Anger is a good trigger because someone or something is in your boundary energetically. And that's why you're like, wait a minute, this is my spot. What are you doing here? So I noticed that anger is a boundary violation by definition. Because
I'm glad you brought that up.
yeah, you set this boundary, and then somebody's like knocking, hello, let me in, let me in. And you're like, how many times do I have to say this for them to say, don't do that?
Yeah. I'm so happy you brought that up because I find like for me, like I had trauma. So I was disconnected from that anger. And there was this fear of really connecting to that anger and speaking my truth, like speaking up. So that's a common thing too, is like you'll notice that you'll avoid feeling your emotions and feeling angry or feeling like you're wronging yourself for feeling angry.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, in our culture, right? The Filipino culture, like I was brought up not to be angry. Like, don't do that. And I remember in my younger days, we had a lady that was helping me with my kids at home, and she asked me, "Are you already angry?" Because I didn't like my facial expression. I was telling her I was angry, but then my facial expression, it doesn't quite connect, right? Because like I said, if the program is like, don't be angry, I brought you up as a lady, you're a professional, don't do that. And I'm like, okay, I'm not supposed to be angry. So what if I'm really angry, right? What if I get pissed off? And we know that anger could be just an external emotion, and underneath that there may be pain, there may be other layers, right? There may be other emotions that's being processed. That's why it's showing up as, please leave me alone because I'm upset right now. So I have to learn, right? I actually have to learn how to feel angry because I wasn't allowed in the past to be angry.
That's the same as the East Indian culture. Like East Indian women growing up were just not taught to express any kind of emotions or needs, and anger is like, how dare you? You know, it could actually
be angry.
Yeah.
Yes.
So it took a lot to connect those two.
Yeah.
As soon as I did, that's for myself personally, that's when the panic disorder went away. And then I started to understand boundaries. And I was like, oh, like I need to honor this, honor me, you know?
Yeah. And I love what you say. Acknowledge it first, because these negative emotions are here for us to tell us something's not right and we needed to shift, right? We needed to look at us, ourselves, our truth. Is it in alignment? So are there any tips that you can give our viewers who is ready to create healthy boundaries? So I'll give some examples if you want me to do that. For example, at home, right? At home, a lot of people struggle to balance life, personal life, family life, and business. So how can they have good boundaries at home, for example, especially now during the pandemic that everybody's at home?
I love that you've asked that because I've actually had, a few clients that, have had some challenges with that. And what I've made them do is have a heart to heart with themselves of what's priority right now. And to write that down and to work their schedule around it, actually have like a family meeting.
Nice.
And to also collaborate to see how it works with their partner as well. So it's like, well, I need to take more naps. Okay. How can you do that? What can you do for yourself? Because what happens, especially being a mom, you're in automatic mode.
Gotta get things done.
You're in super mom mode, and then you forget about yourself. So it's like if you keep doing that,
Mhm.
people are always going to be that way with you. So you have to reprogram yourself and be like, okay, I got to shift this energy. And then, also communicate it with the family members as well, and work around that schedule. So that's a big one. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. Like for us in our family, I have 4 kids, a husband, and me. We don't have any pets. So then I ask everyone around because somebody still has to coordinate, right? Like
Yeah.
who are these things that, like, what are you doing this week, right? And I ask every single person, especially the working members, and go, okay, what's important this week? And then we agree on that. Okay.
Mhm.
All right. So go ahead and share with us a few more tips on how they can create a healthy boundary, either in their family, for themselves, or their business.
Yeah, I'm gonna add in business because that's a big one that we don't really think about,
Mhm.
and it also relates to relationships. But business, I find with a lot of mentors, coaches, healers, is that if you notice you're overextending your time with a client, let's just say you booked
Mm.
an hour call, and this is a common thing that a lot of my clients
Yes.
come to me for. They're like, we booked an hour call and it went for like an hour and a half, and I don't know. And then they start hating their business. And I said, it's actually has nothing to do with your business. It's how you're showing
Mhm.
up in your business. And if you're showing up as a certified people pleaser in your business, as a slave driver, then of course you're not going to like your business. It actually has
Mhm.
nothing. It's how you're showing up. So it's really important to check in with yourself. How am I showing up in my business? And to really set intentions. I love setting intentions, and that's
Mhm.
like I love doing that in the morning as well. First thing when you get up in the morning is like setting intentions. So for myself, I'm like, okay, how do I want to show up? And how do I want my day to be like? We can never ask how we want others to show up because they have free will, but
Mhm.
we can intend within ourselves, how do we want to show up? If I
Yeah.
woke up in the morning and it's raining outside and I'm like, oh, it's going to be a crappy day. Guess what? It's going to be a crappy day. But
Oh,
if I
wow.
wake up in the morning and let's just say I do feel like crap and I'm like, okay, I'm just going to shift this and be like, all right, Source, I powerfully request to be fully grounded in my truth, in my power, fully in my, leadership energy. Please remove any and all interferences between me, and I'll even list who I have my calls with so that I can be a crystal clear conduit. Please allow our calls to be loving, deep, and profound, and more than what I could have asked for. Thank you, and so it is. I'll even add in things if I'm meeting someone for coffee or for dinner to remove a lot of the interferences. I ask that all interference are removed so that that we can have a beautiful experience, that I can have a joyous experience. Um, so energy follows intent, and this is a great way of setting a healthy boundary because you're just stating to the universe of how you want to show up. And that way, when you look at, when you're doing your sessions with someone, you'll notice you won't overextend your time and energy. And it also allows yourself to be way more efficient and to go deeper into supporting someone. It's way more of a disservice if you're in that people pleaser energy and it doesn't actually allow your client to shift as well. The other thing too is like, let's just say you've got a friend or a client or someone that just starts calling you out of the blue and you're feeling a weird energy or you feel like you need to pick it up. Use your intuition. Your intuition is very, very powerful. And you'll know intuitively, be like, no, I'm not going to pick this up or I'm not going to text back right now. I'm just going to give it some space. And then you might be guided to call back later. And what usually happens when you do, the person has already like solved their issue, you know? So it's more about really tapping into your intuition. And that's also part of creating healthy boundaries is no longer giving your power away, um, you know, for someone to tell you what to do. As
Mm.
there's
Yes.
coaches, we're just here to be a crystal clear conduit to reflect back the truth that's already within that person.
Yes. Awesome. Okay. Thank you for all those. So, is it okay that we now go into the comments section?
Yeah.
And we interact with our live viewers because I am sure they have so many questions. This is such a hot topic. So Vienna said, I am so excited to be here today and I'm very actively shifting out of being a people pleaser. Yes, Vienna, I'm celebrating you.
Nice.
She's one of my co-authors and I interviewed her yesterday and she is on her beautiful journey.
Amazing.
Yes. Oh, so far she said 100%. So far, that's beautiful, Vienna. Congratulations on that one.
Yay.
Yay! All right. Ooh, Venus says, a boundary is you protecting your truth. Yes,
Yeah.
that is definitely true. Energy follows intent. Wow. Yes, exactly. So now everybody set their intention every single day. Oh my gosh. Beautiful, beautiful. All right. So, are there any other things that you wanted your vision now, your vision for your brand? I know you've helped so many people, and we're together in the same container with our mentor, Jennifer Longmore. So, it's such a beautiful container that she's created for us. So, what's your vision for your brand? Because I know you help them with these people pleasing thing, deleting that, having a healthier boundary, allowing themselves to just be in their divine feminine truth and showing up, right, with love and light. That's really what you're doing. So share with us your vision because I know I love those things you do for people.
No, I was like, I think I have something here. So when you visit the website, oh, that's perfect. She's got it there. There, from my architectural background, which was such a gift, you'll notice like whatever job that you have, it always plays as a tool for what you're meant to do in this lifetime. So what architecture did was it brought me channeling these sacred geometric images. And what I started to do was channel these images, but also use the Akashic records combined. And I call them soul blueprint activators. And when I channel them, I get very specific information about a person's mission and where they need to focus their time and energy. So, for example, I had someone who wanted to open up a healing center. And I love sharing this story because it was such a profound thing for her. And when I channeled her soul blueprint, what came through, and this is like very specific, was that she was to start a chocolate line with flower essences.
Wow.
And then she had this alchemist archetype. So I can actually see the archetype in someone. I can read the energy. It's very, very specific. So she was like, oh my God, how do you know I like chocolate? I've always had a passion for it. I just never took it seriously, you know? And I said, well, why aren't you tapping into that alchemist archetype? And when we explored more in our Akashic records what that was about, it turned out that her dad has a very similar archetype. And in Europe, he misused his energy for stealing and he was sent to jail for 11 years. So she never saw her dad for 11 years.
Wow.
So she made that mean if I connect to that gift, I would do more damage than good.
Yes.
So she immediately shifted it. She didn't quit her job. She became a certified chocolatier. She traveled to Brazil, studied cacao. She found someone that works with flower essences. So my mission is to really help people like deeply connect back to their gifts and use that to, bring heaven on earth pretty much.
Exactly.
And we all have gifts. And part of that being the people pleasers, sometimes we don't give ourselves permission to be like, hey, I'm a conscious DJ. I'm going to create something really like profound. Like for myself, I've done events in planetariums where it's like in a dome with meditation, sacred geometry, and sound, and taking people on an experience. For some people, maybe they're meant to channel a book. So I'll get that information of where someone needs to go and focus, in this next level of consciousness. And that's my mission, is to really take that further and allow that to be more available for people to access. So yeah, that's what I'm working on.
Beautiful. So we have more viewer comments, and so let's bring those up. Wow. So Vienna said she finally came to the end of her addictive, codependent relationship of 10 years with a friend. And she's able to shift out of guilt about not rescuing her pretty quickly. But I'm feeling guilty about feeling so free and happy to not be entangled anymore, right? So do you have a tip for feeling good about feeling good? It's like, I need permission. So.
Yeah. It's interesting that, and thank you, Vienna, for bringing that forward. It's interesting that you brought up codependency, and we need to really look back at where that codependency comes from, and to give ourselves permission to feel good about ourselves. It's okay to have a little bit those feelings of but also know that that's not your responsibility to make someone else happy.
Yep.
It's also the other thing for you, Vienna, I kept hearing, is to look up psychological abuse. Sometimes with psychological abuse, it can be very, very subtle, that we don't even realize how deep we're in it. And there's certain energies and dynamic that we participate in that create this trauma bond. So then when we leave that trauma bond, it feels very unfamiliar. Because it's like, oh, I should show up this way. But you've actually freed yourself from that pattern. And it's more of like a celebration. And also, we call it compassionate detachment. It's what, Jennifer Longmore, we're in the mastermind with, what she taught was that you can have compassion for someone, but you don't need to participate in what's going on. So for example, let's just say you're on a boat with someone and your friend is, vomiting. Would you vomit with your friend? No, you just nothing was changed, right? So you would just pat your friend on the back, let her vomit. But you're always going to stay where you need to stay. You're going to be compassionate, but you're going to be detached, because that's where that person will rise if they so choose to rise. The only way to empower is to still have compassion, but take yourself out of the dynamic, out of the rescuer dynamic, the codependent dynamic. So this is more of like a celebration. And the tip is to have more awareness of that and be like, wow, this is really empowering, because I can guarantee you that this is not only just in that relationship that you had with your friend, but how it's been a bleed through with all of your other relationships.
Right. And isn't it normally when a codependent person is there, do they not just do that to you, but they also do it to someone else?
Yeah.
Because that's their pattern, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And what do you do with those? I call it the disconnected codependents. It's kind of like there's still a disconnect. You know how, like I said, when I was moving into the energy of freeing myself and being just aligned with my truth and intuition, or just being angry and not show it in your face. So there's a little disconnect because all the pieces of the puzzle aren't quite there yet, right? It's not fully formed.
Yeah.
We all go through that stages, and I think that's what Vienna is going through. She just pulled out of something, and so instead of your time and energy spent in other things, right? The focus of whatever your sole purpose is, for example, or what your business represents, with that aligned soul purpose, you go, oh, but I'm used to like helping her from 9 to 11 in the morning. What do I do now? So what can she do when she's feeling, aside from what?
Yeah, great
how,
question.
How do I like go back? Like it's 9 to 11. I'm normally doing this for her, but now I'm not.
Yeah.
Yeah. So how can she shift that?
Yeah. So first of all, that can be like a misdirected purpose of how you're showing up in relationship. It's like you're misdirecting your purpose of being a healer or whatever
Ah,
in friendships.
right.
So a great way to do it is to channel that energy into your gifts. And that's the other thing. It's like when we are participating in certain dynamics, it's because it's it's a way to deflect from your truth,
Yes.
from expressing your truth. And that's when you have to have that deep heart to heart. Another great way is to work out. I always find like moving energy and moving my body, right? Just moving my body. I start to get feisty and I'm like, yeah. And then I start doing things, right?
Just move it out. Move it out of your
So
system.
if
Yeah.
you feel like you're feeling antsy and you're like, oh, I feel like I need to call this person back. No, no, no. Just go for a walk and start to channel that energy. Listen to music. Get that energy flowing because it is a, you know, you're having withdrawal symptoms, right? You
Mm,
said addiction.
yes.
You are going to experience withdrawal symptoms.
Yeah.
So it's learning how to channel that energy and redirect it to somewhere else, but you have to decide, how do I want to redirect this?
Got it. Okay. Awesome. So let's circle back to the comments. Ha. Michelle says, energy follows intent. It's a brilliant way to focus on what's really important once you have your intention crystal clear. Yes. Thank you, Michelle. Ah, Lauren used to want to understand the source of why I do certain things. Now I just want to listen to my body, and if I'm in discomfort, I just want to release without digging. Is the secondary approach allow me to avoid the repeat?
For you, I'm actually very grateful you brought this up because for you, what I'm actually getting is that you actually really need to ground. Grounding is another form of not creating healthy boundaries. When we're in our head a
Hmm.
lot out of our body. Being out of our body, we can be very spacey or just like disassociated, or being in our head, we're always analyzing, like we're always like in our head, right? So, what that does is that it really takes away from knowing how to create a healthy boundary because you're disconnected from your truth and you're trying to like find out different ways. So even in that question, it almost felt like it was coming from the headspace. Um,
Hmm.
Again, with grounding, go for a walk, do some breath work, do different things that you know will help you just ground into your body. And
Hmm.
then you're actually just going to know your answer from there.
Wow, beautiful. Thank you. All right, Schiffer says, Vivian, you have taught me that when you let someone go, you open up room for new people to show up. Yes. I still have an empty, guilty feeling when they first leave, like a grieving. Wow.
Mm.
Yes.
I always
Mm.
find it's nice to write a letter to them, not, and you don't have to send the letter, but just like it clears a lot of energetics when you write a letter to
Wow.
that person or thing.
Mhm.
Uh, and so when you do that, and then you do like a little ceremony where you rip it up and you put it in the
Mhm.
fireplace or whatever,
Yep.
it's a great way to release that grief. It will help the energy shift quickly.
Mm. Nice. Oh, Lauren says thank you.
Welcome, love.
Ah, okay. Vienna, true. It goes through all my relationships and impacts my business. Yes. I do have trouble keeping appointment time boundaries. I want to give everything I have and help someone get fully out of pain in one session. I am a massage therapist. Yep. Yeah, I had that same thing before. I thought one session that should fix it all. Oh
Yeah,
Lord,
right.
I wish.
Yeah,
It's like a magic wand. Like, I'm
yeah.
a fairy. Here it is.
Exactly. So yeah, like just ask to be a crystal clear conduit and ask that the session is completed on time and that it's more than what you could ever ask for. And you'll just notice how you show up it's not in the rescuer energy. That's why I think it's important to look up the rescuer, victim, persecutor triangle. When you step out of that and you're in the conduit energy, then you know that it's the client's responsibility to shift. It's not your responsibility. Your responsibility is to create that sacred container to be a clear conduit for them.
That's beautiful. Thank you. I love those. Yeah. Shifra says, that's why I love Zumba. I move energy and I feel great afterwards. Beautiful, Shifra. Thank you for sharing that.
I just did Zumba yesterday. I love Zumba. I love Zumba.
Yeah, that's fun. I started doing some ballroom dancing and that was fun too. Because I'm like, I don't know what that is, but I want to try. So anything that's new and anything new for me is fun, actually. That's how I entered into TV show, because for me, it's new and I don't know much about it. So I said, let me see what this space looks like. So that's fun for me. So perfect. Awesome. Let's spotlight again your soul blueprint. So share with us, what do viewers need to do when they're looking at this blueprint?
Mm-hmm. So this one's a generic blueprint, and it's for harmonic. So it works with the mental body. And we all have a light body. So our light body connects to our mental body, our physical body, our emotional body, and our spirit body. And right now, I just want you to look at the blueprint. And for everyone, it's going to be different and of how the energy comes through. It's only going to be specific to what you need. And I just want you to breathe in an intention that you want to call into yourself. Maybe it's inner peace. Maybe it's clarity. Maybe it's insight. And you might feel your head tingle a little bit. You might even feel or see the image kind of move. And so what it's doing is that it's sending like an energy transmission, and it's basically you connecting to your higher self. So you're a multi-dimensional being, meaning you have access to all dimensions. You've got your third dimensional self here in this physical reality, but you have access to all dimensional parts of yourself. So this gets in touch with your galactic part of yourself, where you're able to receive deeper insight that goes beyond what the human brain can understand. And you're able to integrate that in so that you aligned more to your own soul blueprint. And just take another deep, big breath in. We're just going to breathe in the energy of harmonic. So what that means is bringing in harmony with the left and right brain, the left and right hemisphere of the brain. And just removing any energy cords that are creating disharmony in the mental body. And as we harmonize the mental body, what it does is it allows you to connect more to your emotions. And when you're ready, take another deep, big breath in. And as we keep going, you'll just keep feeling the energy moving through your brain. So drink lots of water. These are very powerful. They are available on the website, where you can just purchase the generic one in the shop. And you can also color them as well. I think I've had moms buy them for their children. And anytime your children are feeling anxious, especially with all that's going on in the world, and they're very sensitive, this helps as a color therapy. So this is great to use if you feel like you need some just grounding and just clarity, is to print it out and color it.
Awesome. Thank you for that beautiful mini healing we had.
You're welcome.
Energy transmission. So we're going to share with everyone their own copy of this. You can actually email, because we're going to send it to our email list. So please sign up on my email list, uplevel2020.com/money magnet. And we will send this to you via email, and also a copy of the show For those of you who missed the first part, you missed a lot of goodies and nuggets. So we want you to have this. And we want you to also connect with Baljit. So if you have any questions or comments, I know she has a Facebook page, right? A website, lotusdestiny.com. Definitely you can check her out and all her beautiful work, soul blueprint activation. She can also customize that for you, by the way, right, Baljit?
Yeah.
Yes. So I'm sure, like, share with us what happens when people actually get their own soul blueprint, just like that lady. Can they use it as a healing tool? Like, what can they do with that?
So once someone gets their soul blueprint and they get the write up, it's like confirmation, or it's they're like, okay, I'm on a mission. So they'll notice that a lot of patterns start to kind of fall away and they start to just do what they've always wanted to do. Again, for everyone, it's different. I always tell them to print it out so that they have it as a reminder, and then the write up to just tuck it away whenever you feel like you need the reminder. I even use it as like a healing tool as well. If you feel like you need an energy tune up, you can look at the blueprint and just breathe in the energies that you want to breathe in. You can just look at it and meditate. You can color it. Some people frame it. I think I have mine framed here. I have one framed here.
Ah, nice.
So you can use your intuition and use it. Some people save it on their phones as like a reminder. It's like a reminder activation. And that's what it does. It literally activates you when you receive your personalized soul blueprint. And then there's no way of hiding either, because now that you know, you're like, oh,
Yes.
I got to do this. You know, it's like, yeah, you stop. What it is that you really stop second guessing yourself of things that you've always thought of. And a lot of the times, the things that I see, a lot of people don't share with a lot, you know, like the chocolate, this woman never shared with anybody. She thought it was ridiculous. And I'm like, actually, this is part of what you're supposed to be doing, you know? You know, your deepest fantasy.
That was such a great story.
Yeah.
Yes, yes, perfect. Yeah. Awesome. Well, thank you, Baljit. It's really a pleasure and an honor to have you here.
Thank you for having me, Vivian. It was so wonderful for having me.
That was lovely. We all felt good. I felt good, relaxed. And I'm sure my team has felt good and relaxed.
Yeah.
Lisa and Shifra said, thank you so much. And on behalf of all my viewers, again, thank you so much for being here and connecting with us. And so stay tuned again for our next show. Next September, actually, our My Spiritual GPS is going to move to Tuesdays at 12 o'clock. And Wednesdays, we're going to have a new show called My Spiritual Money RX. Yoo-hoo! I am so excited about all these new birthings that we're doing here in our TV show. And thank you again, everyone, for participating. You have a great day and see you again next week. Bye-bye.